Welcome to Mothership. I'm Carrie Grant, and today we're talking about a subject that is really close to my heart, adoption. Now, lots of people adopt for many very different reasons. So today I'm going to be chatting to Tom, who is an adopter of a little boy.
Yes,
who is
I am.
called
Yes, Kai.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget that if you want to comment, you can do that in the box below. Just write us your comments, your stories, questions, anything you want. Just put it all in there, and hopefully we can answer some of those questions. Okay, so where did your journey begin in adoption?
My journey began, I think, when I was about 30, actually. My husband was...
You only look about 22 now.
You're my new best friend, yeah. I think we had like a great time. You know, we'd done our 20s and been travelling and doing so much, and we'd eat out every weekend and we'd do things as we please. And
I miss that.
I know, me too. And I think we got to the point where we felt like we were missing something, actually, maybe. And kids were never really on the agenda. And then I think I got to 30, thought, is this it? Maybe. And, you know, it sort of just sprung from there. I think adoption always felt like the natural choice for us. So we went with it.
It's amazing because for David and I, we've been married 30 years this year, but I remember we were together for 8 years before we had children. Our thing was I was really take it or leave it. And all my girlfriends were like, I really need a child. And I was thinking, well, you know, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
How I've ended up with 4, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So 3 birth, 1 adopted. So for you, what was the adoption process like? Where did it begin? What happened?
Well, I was really lucky. I had a job as a marketing manager for an adoption agency. So I had some amazing insight into adoption. Yeah, and just, you know, that exposure to that environment really solidified the decision for us.
And was your partner really up for it too?
He was up for it before me. So I think, you know, he's 6 years older, so I think he was probably just at a later stage, and he was just thinking, you know, he never pushed me, but I think I could always tell he wanted kids, maybe.
One of the challenges, I think, for us often is that trying to find the same page at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quite often one or other of you is like, I really want to do this, and then by the time the other partner catches up, they've kind of moved on.
Totally.
So if you hit that kind of sweet spot,
We
where you're
did.
like, ooh.
Yeah, I did. And I think, you know, it just sort of perfectly happened for us. I remember being at a seminar on adoption and bumped into a lovely lady who worked for an agency. They were a new agency, so they had no real, like, credibility, if you want to use that word, but we went with them, and it just felt right. So something about it felt really right, and that was really the beginning of our journey into it.
So some people will go straight to an agency, an adoption agency, and those are normally charity run, aren't they?
Yeah.
And some of us, like myself, just contact the local borough in my area.
Yeah.
And I always find that really funny because people say to me, you know, where did you get your child from? Imagining that I'm going to say like Malawi or something. And I'm like, no, Barnet Council.
Yeah.
So you chose the agency route. Now, why did you choose that route?
We had attended an information evening for our local borough, and we weren't sold on it, you know, and every local authority is different.
Why? Just tell me that.
I think it's down to funding, and it's down to, you know, cuts here, there and everywhere, and certain areas have more funding than others, and some are expertise in adoption, some may be fostering. So our local authority didn't feel right. However, working in the industry, I knew the options available. So, you know, what I will say to anyone always thinking about adoption is go to First for Adoption. They are the go-to for your first port of call for this. So we chose an agency because our local authority would only get kids from that area, and I felt it was quite a small catchment. So an agency scours
the same
the country.
like with Adoption UK, they would go all over the country.
Exactly.
So you get a match. You could be matched if you're living in Southampton. You could be matched with a child that's in Glasgow.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and it
broad,
just sort of felt right for us, I think. And that's what I just always say: go with your gut, do what feels right for you.
So then you had to enter the world of adoption training.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Adoption training, like, for me, it was like I didn't even know how to say my own name properly.
Yeah.
They go, hello, what's your name? And I'd go, if I say Carrie, if I say like Carrie, I'm too friendly, but not do that. Let's just be like Carrie, then I'm too cold.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you second guess everything you're saying.
Yeah, and you think these people are making all the decisions on your
they
life.
are.
Yeah.
And they're judging every last thing you say.
Yeah.
And for me, that's one of the things that if I could change anything about, you know, social services and the adoption services, it would be that we want to collaborate with you as a service.
Yeah.
And if you put into the equation, the fact that we're going to be constantly judged on everything we say, that is not really the environment for co-production.
Yeah.
That doesn't set you up for really great, meaningful relationship with these people,
agree.
which you need if you're going to adopt.
Yeah.
So what was your adoption training like?
The training itself I found it good. I think a lot of people sort of say to you when they don't really know the adoption journey themselves, oh, isn't it invasive, isn't it this? And I think it's as invasive as you kind of see it, or as you're going to sort of judge it, because for us, the social worker is so important. So our social worker was amazing.
Ours too.
Yeah, and
Agreed.
we loved her. It was like she became a friend.
Yeah.
She just got us. And I think, being a gay couple, we were young, and I think she got that. And you may have someone that wouldn't, and that could have been a very different journey.
So I've got lesbian friends of mine who are just in the process of doing their adoption training now, and they are really worried that they are being judged negatively because of being a same-sex couple. So was that ever an issue for you guys?
It never was an issue. And I feel like, you'll read from the blog, I feel like our journey, we just sort of didn't sail through it. There were challenges, and there was the biggest waiting games at times, and the training and the meetings and all that, but it just went perfectly in a way.
So I'd be interested to know what you think about adoption training. If you're someone that's been through that, did you find it too invasive? I know David, my husband, would have said, oh my gosh, I really don't want to talk to people about my sex life. Whereas I was like, just ask me anything, that's fine. So people feel differently. And in a way, if you are going to adopt, they do need to know everything about your lives. But let us know what you think on that. So how much training did you have? How many days?
I think it was a week.
All in one go?
Yeah, there was one all in one go.
Like
and then,
adoption holiday.
Yeah, it was, in a way. And then, but you get to take the time off work, and you sort of just really throw yourself into it. I think that's what we did, and it was exciting. Everything that we did on this journey was for us to build our family. So it just felt like, this is another one to tick off the list,
That's so lovely.
What about you? How long was your training?
So our training, I think it was brilliant, and I loved our social worker, but I do think that it happened a little bit quickly for us because it happened slightly differently. So we had a foster carer friend who, Nathan, who's the child we've adopted, he was her 79th child that she'd fostered. She's she's one of the old Mother Hubbard. She's amazing. Babies all over the place. She's great. And she came to us and she said, Nathan is about to turn 2. He's a mixed race boy. And those 3 factors, age, race and sex, he is 3 times less likely to get picked up. And she said, he's such a lovely little boy, would you consider adopting? And we had big discussions and eventually said yes. So from the first day of the course, that was the first, our introduction into adoption was the first day of the course back then. I think they did it slightly differently then. I mean, they're not there to judge you, but they kind of are there.
Yeah, and they just need to make sure that, you're going to be taking a child and becoming a family and, taking this child out of the system and giving it a life it may not necessarily have had, and they just need to make sure it is one of the biggest jobs out there, and what they do is amazing, even though you go in there feeling like, ooh, what are they going to ask me? But we had panel, and it was a unanimous yes.
That's a great moment, isn't it?
It is. It's really good.
There's still a part of you that thinks they're just going to say, we're really, and especially for us, we've already got 3 children. I'm really sorry, but you're not very good parents.
Yeah, or you don't need any more. Yeah, it is a bit crazy, but I think, after that, you're feeling elated, so happy, and then
you're like, I want a child now.
Now, that's it. And all we had heard was horror stories of how people were waiting years, and I was just like, ooh, what we're going to do. So it was an amazing time, but then it was like, what's next,
And so how long did that take from your panel? Because you did your training, you did all your
we were done.
stuff.
We were ready. And
that process is about 6 months, that bit?
Ours was about 6 months,
So that down, that's great.
Yeah.
So 5 months in the training and everything, and then you waited only 4 months
Well,
then?
not long. So we were approved in October, and then in December we were sent a profile of a little boy. There were a few profiles before that time, and there's really amazing resources.
That's a weird bit, isn't it? My friends were like, oh, can I? And you always start trying to attach to the photo.
Yeah, and some
some
people choose not to receive photos. They just want to go on on a profile and information, which I think is amazing. But we were sent a few, and we saw a few, and I always didn't get how people would say, I don't know if you had this, that people would say, you'll know. I was like, really? This is like a dating website. It's like, I'm looking at these children and like it is breaking your heart, isn't it, when you're doing it?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then we were sent a profile. I remember the day. I think it was December the 10th.
It's like their birthday for you, isn't it?
It was like, yeah. And we were sent a profile. We opened it up and just looked at this little 10-month-old boy, and it was like looking at my husband. It was really strange. My husband as a baby. It was really weird. And something in us knew. We knew.
Yeah.
And it was December the 10th. Nothing happened until mid-January. We would register our interest. Were there other families that were interested?
Yeah, that's horrible. Sometimes
awful.
you can end up in a competition.
Oh, absolutely.
Between two families.
Absolutely. And, family and friends, have you seen any kids yet? And it's a crazy time. We kept quiet, but we'd registered our interest. We were bugging them every day. He was mine. I was going to make him mine.
It's so interesting that you say about Kai looking like your partner.
Yeah.
Because for us, we had the weirdest experience where the foster carer that had Nathan, and we hadn't met him at this point, said, I'll bring some pictures of him. So she brought pictures of him, and I said, so this is 2011, right? I said, that's really funny because that pram that he's in is identical to my children's pram that I had bought in 1994 for my first child.
Wow.
And then we worked out that my pram and my cot had gone, I gave it to my childminder, she then passed it on.
No
and it
way.
ended up about 6 people, it ended up with this foster carer.
No way.
And all of
Oh my
Nathan's
God.
pictures, he's in the same pram and cot as his siblings.
That's amazing.
How nuts is that?
Crazy.
We're like, this is meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he matches.
Yeah.
So that match thing is so important.
It's so
right,
important.
So tell me then, first day through the door.
Oh my goodness. Nothing will ever prepare you. You've gone through another panel at this point to be approved as this child's parents, which is crazy enough as it is. And, you're gunning for them. I think one of the main reasons that we got through was we were the perfect match. But they'd said that we'd already claimed him as our own, and that was really important. He was my son at this point. It was more than just a photo profile connection. It was spiritual, and it was amazing.
Did the birth parents have any say? Because quite often they do. They can say, I don't want my child to be with a Christian family, or I don't want my child to be with, it could be race, culture, religion, sex, it could be any of those things.
Yeah, they did. They had an issue with him coming to a same-sex family. So they obviously have their own social worker that they work with, and they'd expressed those concerns. We respected that, and we wanted to meet them. I wanted to tell them that this boy, if it goes down this route, is going to have, without being too braggy, because it's such a sensitive subject. These people, their child has been taken away from them, and coming to you potentially. So, I wanted to meet them, and I wanted to tell them the wonderful life that he would be able to have. However, that's a really difficult message to deliver, I find.
Yes, that really is.
But we met them, and you know what? The weirdest day of my life, of course, but it ended with handshakes and thank yous because they were giving me their child. So, yeah.
That's really amazing. Now, if you're at this stage in your adoption process or you're thinking about adoption, do write your comments below. We want to hear from you. The good and the bad stuff, it's all we can, then we can all read it, we can all learn from each other, which is fantastic. Okay, so Kai moved in with you. Now, what obviously, it's a bit like childbirth, everyone only tells you about the really bad stuff.
Yeah.
And if you haven't given birth, you can't possibly know that. So the thing we do in adoption is go, so what are the challenges?
Yeah.
But, first of all, let's just talk about how you feel about your child.
Yeah. Oh, it was, going back to the earlier question about the first day, we knocked on the foster carer's door. Love her. She's always going to be in our life.
Yeah,
he was her first child.
Oh.
She had him from birth, so she was mum.
Yeah.
She was mum
Yeah.
for those first 14 months. And what an amazing job she did. And we're just so grateful to her. So we walk in, can't see him, but we can hear him in the kitchen, mucking about, playing with something or other. And he
was how old at this point?
14 months.
14
yeah,
months.
So he still wasn't walking, he was crawling, he was so dinky, and we'd seen these photos, but that's all we got to go on. And he just sort of peered around the corner and just looked at us. It's like fairy tale. He just smiled, laughed, and crawled up to us. And it was just the most amazing feeling ever. And it is instant love, and it's like just all consuming. That was what I was meant to do, what we were meant to do, and it was amazing. So, you've then got that week of introductions. I don't know, did you have that?
We did. We were kind of meant to, but because we all
Yeah.
knew each other.
Right.
He'd been to our house before
Yeah.
the actual date of the
Right.
adoption, and been with my children, and we just wanted to see it.
different.
And all my children got special needs, so it's just like, how will they all respond? I just want to make sure they're okay.
Of course.
So just let's move on just a little bit, because obviously you've said there that he was fostered.
Yeah.
And it's her first child, so she's going to be very attached to that child.
Very attached.
We can't talk about adoption without talking about attachment, you know, good and bad, because it's challenging. So what can often happen is if a child has had multiple attachments, they can then shut down and not be able to attach. So as adoptive parents, what I remember in our training, they were saying what you're always looking for is even if they attach to just one of the parents, that's okay, because it's proven that they can still attach. And that's what you're looking for in that child is how can I help him or her to form those attachments. So what was that attachment like to you and your husband?
It was, you know, we went in with the mission of, I need to make him love me. Like, he needs to love me, he needs to think I'm funny, to think I'm, you know, great. And so we just
I'm
thought,
a court jester.
Yes, exactly. How do we do this? And, you know, I kind of want to say he made it easy for us, because he had been in such a loving home for 14 months. It was all he knew. And we were just two guys coming in. We, you know, during introductions, we sort of took things on each day a bit more. We might do nappies, then we'd do feeding, then we'd do bath time, all that sort of stuff. You just sort of build up to them coming home for good. And so it didn't feel tricky. It just felt natural for me and my husband, really. We were just on this mission to be there for him at every point that he needed us. And it was really, he made it easy, I feel, for us. But it's like you said, it's so important to have that attachment, because, you know, without that, if he hadn't had that wonderful foster carer to begin with and have that love and support, he could have had difficulties attaching to us.
Absolutely. And we had very similar, except completely different. Once Nathan came to us, he went into deep grief.
Right.
And stood by the window every day for 6 weeks, waiting for his foster carer to come back.
Okay.
And it was like we had kidnapped him.
Yeah.
So that was very different. And I was also mummy number 5, you know, if you included the emergency foster carers and all of that. But we found Nathan attached to David immediately, because he'd never been with a man, never had a man looking after him, and never been with anyone black. So David was a totally new entity.
Right.
Oh, that's a new person.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
He loved David.
Yeah.
So we knew that because he could make that attachment, he would eventually manage to make that with me. With me, it's taken a really long while, and I think the first 3 months I was like, I can handle this. I've had the training. I'm robust. I'm resilient. After 3 months, I was just like, come on now, kid.
Yeah.
You need to make that attachment.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling very rejected.
Yeah.
And that was I found that really, really hard. I've got to be honest.
I can imagine.
And that's taken, you know, it still goes on now, but I would say the first 2 years, you know, Nathan's been with us 6 years, first 2 years to really properly, you know, when he fell over, to run to us.
Yeah.
Like the instincts, you see it immediately in adoptive children.
And that's what you look for, isn't it? Because I remember being there in that week. If he had hurt himself or wanted someone to do something, he would go to the foster carer, and it breaks your heart. But they don't know you know, so you have to really work hard at building that.
You have to be a real grown-up. And then you realise why they grilled you so hard in all of those training courses, because you're going to need it. So let's ask the internet what advice they've got for us. It says, encourage your child not to tell their story to everyone, even if they know someone, and give your child permission not to have to answer questions. How do you feel about that? Because obviously Kai's in nursery now, isn't he? He's going to start school. Some friends might ask questions, particularly because it's more obvious, like, oh, you've got 2 dads. How's that happen?
And we're really vocal, both of us at school. We both do pick up. We're both, you know, chat to all the parents. So yeah, kids know already. His best friend from nursery is our next door neighbour, and we heard him the other day saying, Kai, why have you not got a mummy? You know, and Kai's speech isn't quite there to fully respond to that yet. But Kai started talking about mummies and daddies, and it's like, it's going to happen now.
Yeah.
So we are very much from the get-go. We've talked about adoption. We've talked about birth parents, just in conversation, you know, because I don't want it to be that EastEnders cliffhanger one day, you're adopted, and bam, it's never ever going to be that. It's you know, the life story book is there, so he can flick through and see photos.
So what we have is a story that sometimes comes from the foster carer, sometimes you create your own, you tell your child's story, and that is really meant to be not left on a shelf high up, but meant to be left around their bedroom, so they can pick it up at any point and read about themselves. So one of the things that we did with Nathan is that, and in fact at the time, and this has changed, he's got a page where it's got a lovely picture of him, and it just says, I am adopted. And it's just like, because I think there's only a problem with a label if you've got a problem with the label.
Oh,
I don't have a
absolutely.
problem with the label adoption.
Not at all. No.
But the thing I would change now, I need to go back and do this in fact, is I was adopted. Because the one thing we need to understand is that adoption isn't something that's perpetually happen every single day of their
Really
lives.
good point.
It's something that happened when our kids were 2 years old, and now it's changed.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that happened.
You are
back
a family
then.
now.
It's in the past, and now you are, you're a grant in our case. So, what about, because obviously it does sound like you've had a fairly easy time, if you don't mind me saying, because I've had a slightly harder time. What do you feel up and coming in terms of Kyan's school? Because then, like you did allude to it just a moment ago. You said his speech is delayed, and there are those delays. And sometimes for children, when they're adopted, they have delays in various different ways. And if their head is filled with, "I'm not the same as everybody," and they start to say, "I'm dumb because I can't speak, or I can't write, or I can't do this."
It was a big concern for us because I thought, is he going to be able to build friendships at nursery? Are people going to be able to understand him? Luckily, yes, they have. However, we've gone through the right channels with the key workers, with the teachers. We're having speech therapy. We're doing all the right things there. I never want my way of parenting to come across as lazy, but I'm very relaxed because I know he's going to get it. He's my son, and I can tell every day, every week I see these developments, and I think that goes back to just going with you. You know your kids best, and so there was that concern about school, and there still is. He starts in September, but everyone's saying he's ready, and we'll just ride it.
So here, another Ask the Internet question. It says, "Feel like you get bullied because you're adopted. Don't let teachers tell other children." Well, I guess that's kind of no one should be sharing people's information.
Yeah.
But that does kind of raise the question of, should we share that our child is adopted? See, I think in Nathan's case, it would have really helped in school.
Yeah, because
we're really open about it. Let people talk about it. And if they see that Nathan's being violent on the odd occasion that he was violent and he's violent, then people can begin to just put that into a bigger picture rather than just going, he's a bully.
Yeah.
Just, no, actually, he's really struggling and you can really help him, actually.
You can, and I think the teachers have a responsibility to know the kids, the individual kids, know families normal, and, there are so many different kids from so many different backgrounds, and I think that needs to be represented, for sure, to sort of avoid situations like Nathan may have got into, because, if they had that background knowledge, there might be that better understanding.
Yeah. My belief was always that it takes a village to raise the child, and I thought, probably naively, everyone will get round us. I've been at that school 18 years because all my older kids have been there, and I thought, this will be really amazing, and then it just didn't work out. But you do kind of have to, I don't know what the response has been around you, but sometimes people don't really get it, and some people do, but if your child doesn't behave the way that children of their age are expected to behave, you can be very judged as a parent.
Yeah, I think you're judged as a parent regardless of how you became a parent. Do you know what I mean? So adding adoption on top of it.
Stop judgment.
Yeah.
Let's make a rule for everyone watching this.
Please,
let's stop the judgment.
just do it your way. I think that is the most important thing I've ever been told, is do it your way and don't judge anybody else, because what works for them may not work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving forward, how have you shared the fact that Kai is adopted, and will he meet his birth parents at some point?
So he won't meet them, but we do have annual... Why? Well, I mean, if he wants to, he totally can when he's older, but there's nothing, written down or contractually agreed to ever meet them. I think it was very much he moves on and he's with us now, but we do have letterbox contact. So every year we send a letter to them, we give him an update on where he's at, what he's doing, so that's really good. And I think we want to keep that up until he decides he doesn't need to. Because I want, even if we don't hear back from them every year, I think it's really important for him to understand that we were keeping that connection there.
Same. I remember, I think we have twice yearly letterbox. So I was sending letters and getting nothing back.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, hang on a minute, because when Nathan's, whatever age, he'll go and he'll say...
You don't want to look like the bad guy.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Oh, at least my parents really tried to make contact.
Yeah.
Now we have had contact, and but only actually via Facebook, weirdly.
But isn't that important that it sort of showed you kept it up?
I really wanted to be in contact.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing. We should have respect for birth parents. Some of the stuff that these guys have been through. You know, they've not always had the easiest time themselves.
Yeah.
So it's to actually have some compassion for that.
Absolutely.
And also knowing that people can turn their lives around. Just because it failed on one occasion doesn't mean...
I would love that. I would love him if, whatever age, I mean, we've got to do everything age appropriately, but if he wanted to, and they'd turn their lives around, and, he had that connection to them, great. I think he knows that we've raised him and we're his parents, but there is always going to be that part of them,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tom. Thanks for
Thank
listening
you.
today,
Cheers.
guys. It's been really interesting. I feel like our journeys really reflect one another in many ways, but some are more challenging and some are more straightforward. For me, it's really great just to hear someone that's got really a pretty positive story.
Yeah.
Now, remember, you can leave your comments in the box. We want to hear from you. All the good stuff, all the bad stuff, all the questions. We want to hear it all. Thank you for watching us today on the Nurture channel, and see you soon.
What?